What's going on, y'all? It's your boy J.H. Gibbons here.
And we'll see.
And welcome to yet another episode of the Acromis podcast. Here we are, episode 34. What a week it has been. First of all, if this is the first time that you are joining the Acromis podcast, you need to do something, especially if you're watching this on YouTube. You need to hit that like button. You need to hit that subscribe button, and you need to hit that notification bell so that every single time a new Acromis podcast episode is up, you will be one of the first people to see it.
And
I can never do this.
Drum roll. It's free to subscribe, folks.
That's crazy.
It's free to get all these gems. It's free to increase your knowledge and way of learning about yourself. Yeah, isn't it?
It's crazy. The gems that we're putting out there, the amount of content we're putting out there. I mean, it is absolutely insane. Look, last week I was breaking up some of the episodes that we did, not only last week with Rock Cartel, but some of the ones we did before. And I mean, every 2 minutes in a video, I got to break up that video because it's so rich with amazing quality content that you can use in your life tomorrow that it's just so hard to break it up each time. But we have so much content that we're pushing out. Yes. We're getting heavy on TikTok now. Of course, you know us from YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook. We're getting out there because the message is important to continue to build these healthy habits, continue to love yourself because you matter.
Yes, you're so damn worth it. We all are. And as we're learning, it's hitting stride, and then people are really embracing that part. And we thank you for all of the support. We thank you for the feedback that we've received through this process, and that we look forward to continuing to receive. Because without you to help move this movement that we're on together, we don't grow. We don't, evolve. And that's really important to understand where you are in your life, and be the peace and the change you seek. So it's really that important that if you really seek that in you, you apply yourself, you do the work, and this is one of the places to stop to help you get there.
That's absolutely true. And I would have to say that, I remember we're in our 30s now, right? It's been some years that we've been around. But 20 years ago, something tragic happened, of course, in the United States. And it affected not just this country in the United States, but many countries around the world since then. I was in my English class. It was 6th grade. I was in middle school. I was still a youngin'. And our teacher, I believe her name was Miss Colvin, she announced that, there's a bombing or something, or a grenade went off near the Pentagon or something crazy. And, as kids are just like, okay, whatever. It's kind of weird. It's a little scary, whatever. But it wasn't until we went to the second class, I think her name was Miss Sievertson, if I remember. Shout out to Miss Sievertson. But we went into that class, and in this class, we actually had access to a television. So what we were seeing live happen on TV as kids, we couldn't comprehend the gravity of the situation. But we knew that something was off, right? Because our teacher was very emotional. Especially, we're sitting here seeing this really tall building on fire, right? So we're like, okay, there's a fire, there's something going on. And then we see a plane come out of nowhere and hit the other building. And it was at that time where we knew something was wrong. She broke down in tears. She was inconsolable, and we're starting to cry the same. Mostly because she's crying because we still don't really understand what's happening. And 9/11, looking back 20 years, it's been crazy that something has been burned in our minds for that long. And you can remember the words that were said. You can remember the classes you're in. You can remember your reactions when it happened. Something so impactful, so tragic that happened in this country. And, I want to take a time out now to, remember those lives who were lost then, and then subsequently through the war that we were in from that time. So we can take, a good 10 seconds to just remember those people who lost their lives 20 years ago and since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that was what, that was how we took it. Of course, we knew more about it as we continued to grow. Do you remember? I'm sure you remember your where you were at the time and how it affected
Yeah.
you at the time as well.
Yeah. So I think I was a freshman in
Mm,
high school. And I believe I was in the history class actually,
mm,
coincidentally. And I remember, we had some ruckus and whatnot, and there was like breaking news of something that had happened. We saw like people, teachers walking up and down the hall. Teacher came out of class, pulled another
mm,
teacher in, and they ended up coming back in, and then rolled in one of the TVs, and they hooked it up, and then at that point, the first plane crash already had happened,
mm,
and we saw the second one happen too.
mm,
And it was just this silence.
mm,
Everything just went quiet. Like the entire building was just quiet, and everyone
mm,
just looked. And then I recall where the Pentagon was struck as well. And for me, like my mom had worked across from there.
mm.
So at the time when the Pentagon
Boy,
was struck, we didn't know what else was going to hit. So in my mind, I'm thinking, is she okay?
right.
Like, we don't know what's happening. And then we just know the school went on a full lockdown,
Mm,
and it was some of the most like chilling moments that you experience in your life of not knowing what's next,
mm,
not knowing what to feel, but understanding in that moment that I
right.
understood history had happened and we are
Mm,
living in it and we're not reading about it.
wow.
And it was a powerful moment, and I'll
Mm,
never forget like just watching it happen and just looking around, and everyone's just looking at each other, and the
mm,
teacher and everyone was in awe of what happened, and we just knew that we just become a part of history.
mm. And life was gonna forever change from that point on.
Yeah.
That was I mean, yeah, like you said, even as kids, even as us being so young, we still knew that, man, something bad has just happened. And then, watching the news, following up from then, yeah, it's something that will never leave us, obviously.
Yeah.
So just want to, remember all of those people who were lost that day and subsequently, after, during this war that we've been having since then.
Yeah.
And yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with you. I'm sure the community's praying as well, for
Mhm.
those lives that were lost. And we didn't want to get into the podcast without acknowledging that, especially because of where we are today.
Yeah.
So just a little bit of a different recap now, switching gears a bit, having Rock Cartel on last week. What a great conversation, man.
Yeah.
For somebody who is as young as he is, somebody who is as wise as he is, coming from the DMV, going all the way out to California on his own and finding a way to live the life that he chooses to live. It takes unbelievable strength to do that. And we were very thankful to have him on the podcast to really hear his story, and hear, listen to exactly what his journey has been.
Yeah, it was phenomenal.
Mm,
It's always a beautiful thing to get an insight on someone else's journey outside yourself that's
mm,
actually applying to work to be a better version of themselves,
mm,
simply because they know they're worth it.
yeah,
They know they're
yeah,
worth it, and it was awesome for him to allow us to be a part of that journey,
right,
to hear it. Someone local, like
mm,
like we are,
right,
and to be willing to just take such a huge step and bank on himself, with his belief, his confidence, and what he's developed to have the tools necessary to be successful enough for him.
right. Well, I mean, the one thing that really struck out to me is, he did talk about branding. He talked about, self-image. He
Yes.
talked about how he felt and he knew exactly who he was. He knew he knows who his audience is, and he is always sure to stay true to himself.
Mhm.
He knows what he is and what he isn't. And I think knowing who you are is very important. Not only mentally, emotionally, physically, it all works in tandem. And I know a lot of us out here are still trying to discover who we are. Sometimes we may, put some energy out there that isn't truly ours. Sometimes we may try to do things to fit in to a specific crowd because we think that that's where we should be going. But instead of taking the time to really understand who you are and staying true to yourself in a world that is so based on, trying to put some type of other image out there for other people to see, it's really tough to get into. I know there's people even in our community that are still having that issue with with understanding their self-image and how it affects their self-esteem. So I think with this episode 34 of the Acromas podcast is something that we should truly step into and really understand. First of all, understand what self-image looks like. What is that and how does that affect you in your daily life? Like, for example, you had an incredible transformation over this past year. If you have seen our episodes, if you've seen his personal page, you'll know what I'm talking about. But to really understand how you felt about yourself before to how you feel about now, how did you get to the point where you knew that you had to be true to who you truly were? What did it take for you to really understand, okay, that person I see in the mirror on this date is not me. I know it's not me. And somewhere deep inside of myself, I'm hiding. It's time for me to come
out. I'd say life events and experiences led me to a place where the parts that we choose to suppress in us because of the thoughts of what we feel like everyone else is gonna perceive for us, and their opinions begin to matter more than our own of ourselves, and we lose our identity, right? So in essence, we put on this persona of what we think the world needs us to be, the people in the world, to be more precise. For me, it was through some of my greatest life events that I felt I was closed in, and that part of me could not be hidden anymore if I was going to survive what I was going through. So it became a matter of, I guess it's instinctive, like fight or flight. Do I survive what I'm going through now, like I had been doing through all of my life, or do I like not just survive, but I fight? Or do I actually choose to grow and not just endure and exist through what I'm going through? So it was that moment. It was the pivotal moment when I lost myself. Right. So it's like, you don't get to a place of seeing this sort of growth and development in the person without them really losing themselves, for such a drastic change.
Yeah.
Because it is a day and night scenario, as I put, in my open book, to put myself out there, where I wasn't like Jay, you've known me for so long, where to my core, even to this day, I'm still the same person, inward, my heart, for and how I feel and how I am. But just my characteristics and just certain parts of me has blossomed, as I like to say, because I've stepped outside of fear and what that looks like. So it's like I decided to face that because I knew ultimately the fear of whatever it was change. And I was ready for whatever was going to come with it, because I was tired of what was, because it wasn't my best self, because I knew I'd capped myself in life. I capped myself. I capped my potential. And it wasn't until I was ready to break through that for me. I had to choose me.
Right.
That's what I realized most. I needed to choose and do it for me, that those things started to happen. And when it did, it was free fall, because it's an ugly truth. It's an ugly truth to look in the mirror of yourself and say, dang, I don't like you. I don't like what you represent, because who are you?
Wow. Do you think that's what causes a lot of people pause, is that they don't want to see that side of themselves, or they don't want to acknowledge that ugly truth?
I believe so. It's much more comforting to allow yourself to live in a place of denial and coast comfortably through life than to get out of that raft and swim through the storm to get to the shore. That's going to give you your peace and paradise that you seek for you.
I think you hit it spot on. I think that comfortability, they enjoy it, but then at the same time, it's also draining, because deep down they know that they're not living their truth. And whenever those waves keep crashing against their shore, they keep getting pounded, because they're not ready to be what they're supposed to be. They're not ready for that transition, and deep down they know it. At least their subconsciousness does. So they're sitting there like, all right, what's the next thing? What's the next thing I could do? What's no, I know I look great. They're hating. I don't know what they're talking about. Let me go on to the next thing, and the next thing, the next thing. And it becomes a habit that they end up building of escaping themselves, running from themselves, running from that truth. And you're right. I think it only through a traumatic experience, and then choosing to want to get better, choosing to want to determine or want to find out exactly who they are, that is the only way forward. But it's, especially with social media. I always go to social media as though I'm hating on it, but this, the filters, the angles, all of these different things, it's like you're trying to hide exactly who you are in order to appeal to something that you're trying to fit into.
Very true.
Instead of being yourself.
Very true.
And good.
So on that note,
sure,
it's a delicate line as I'm learning in my development, like where you see the drastic change, but you have to be very wary of the identity that's presented to the world, your persona, because if you're not your true self, it won't you can't flourish, and you won't grow, and the falseness of who you are will always be cracked, and people who are doing the work will see. They'll know that you're not true to yourself. So for me, where it's like me being who I am, and to the world presented as we'll see, that is who I am.
Right.
See, it's a deeper meaning behind of it when that is said, as to even as a kid, when people will meet me as a kid, and it's so funny. And this is why I embrace that with people who know me outside of personally, because yes, that's my name. But like when people would greet me or know me, they would say my whole name. They would say my whole name as a kid.
Okay.
Like, oh, everyone, that's William Campbell. That's people knew me as that. It wasn't just William, which wasn't just Will, but it was because of how I carried myself. It was because of the confidence I exuded as a child at that point in my life. Because in that moment of my innocence, I was my best self all the time, and I was fearless, and I didn't think about what anyone thought or said about me. I was smart. I was at time probably the smartest one in the room, but I was the most courageous one, the fearless one, to be the best that I can be, because I knew I had it in me. Well, life events, things happen, trauma happen, and it changes you, and then you submerge, and then you bury yourself, because you started to feel like, I'm not worthy of this. Like, oh man, like people's thoughts and these things get into you. And then that little thing inside you, that voice, as I like to say, it starts to cloud your judgment on you, and you ridicule yourself, and you become your worst enemy. So fast forward through my experiences and my awakening, guess going on almost on its way to be 2 years. Like it's awakening that it hit me that, let go, be you, be in your now, and the best of you is yet to come. So it only came naturally through this growth and development that you see now, that all these things that I exude to the world is we'll see. That's who I am. And it's not a persona of just that part of the world. This is me, my day-to-day life of how I operate. See, the problem is like with the performer and stuff, at times they only have they have parts of pieces of them that are out there that you only see. So you're not really getting the full trifecta of who they really are with some folks. So it's like that takes a lot of energy to have to pretend to be what you're not, which goes hand in hand with what you were saying earlier. So I wanted to bring that full circle to explain a difference of what that would look like, because if you look, as Jay said, on my personal page, I have it public so people can you can follow my journey if you choose to, where you can go back. I don't shy away from it. You can see the transition of what was happening. And even certain moments where things weren't so great and it was a little shaky to me growing to get to where I'm at now, that even in this new season of growth, I am doing it for me, because I realized part of it, even through the initial transformation, was knowing that I needed to grow, knowing that I need to seek change, but like also part of you kind of feels like you had something to prove. But it was more so I felt like I had something to prove to, you know, the naysayers to a degree. It was like the people that when I wasn't my best, those people who you know, they you know, cast stones on my name. You know, they painted pictures of me and things about me and my personal life that just wasn't right. And it was like, you know what, I'm gonna grow through this hurt. But part of it was like I got through it. But if you're not cautious with it, what does that really matter if you're not doing it for you? And at some point, I feel like of recent time in the season, I recognized that as an opportunity for growth, because I was like, oh, Will, this is probably why you feel like this way through this growth. And it took a blow to your self-esteem in you because you were disappointed in what you were allowing to happen by overextending yourself, giving yourself to people who were unworthy of that of you. So it's like, oh, okay. You start to not remember your why, protect your state of being, you know, you start to forget that. You can't lose sight of that or you lose you, which is why I wear this. I can't lose me.
Can't lose yourself.
So I realized that being the case and understanding what needed to happen next is to really do this for me. And since I've embraced that, I've been healing and doing my work, really going back to the basics, and I'm feeling so much better because of it. But it also is helping to reestablish my self-esteem and self-worth in me, because now it's back to the basics for me. So I think, like, you know, you get to these points where you go through these spurts and you have to enhance your abilities in how you treat yourself and the tools that you use, because what worked last year may not work this year for me. So that's like with anyone out there, you have to adjust, adapt, evolve. And I'm sure you probably heard us say that recently, because that is something of an affirmation to really embrace now, because that's life. You have to go with what happens and change, and you can't be who you were, because it's not who you need to be to become the best version of yourself for you. For you. So that's what it looks like for me, Jay, where like why like the transition and metamorphosis of, you know, shaping my self-esteem and growth and something as we were discussing, and I know we're going to get into more, but like even with like a big part of it was being able to not only learn how to appreciate myself, but to allow others to appreciate me too. And that is something I'm still working on, where like, if it's someone I care about, people I care about, you know me, Jay, with tendencies, I make sure like I'm there for you. If I say you're my family, you're my family. If I love you, my ohana, I'm there any way I can. And sometimes I had to learn to not overexert that, because I was giving it to the wrong people. But then to the right ones, it's welcome, but at the same time, it's reciprocated and it's given back to me. And that's something that I had extreme difficulty with accepting. And I'm still working on that part, because it's a matter of self-love and loving myself, because for so long in that unhealthy phase of my life, I didn't know how to accept that. Because how can you, what do you see about me? And I'd ask people sometimes, what is it about me? Like, what do you see in me? Because I didn't know what that looked like, because I didn't believe in myself enough that you are a good person. You have a good heart. You're a kind soul, and you are so damn worth it of just even knowing you, of your presence, someone like you exists. So now I see that in myself, and I'm like, you know what? It is a privilege to be called friend of mine. And I don't mean it, you know, in any sort of like boastful manner, but I know my worth. I know what I give. I know what I'm willing to sacrifice for those in return that's going to give that back to me. So that's a part of the process. One part of it in self-esteem is to practice that practicality of like what it looks like to receive and to give, and to know when someone's genuine and choose to be there for you. And it's a good feeling for me personally to start appreciating that, because before I'd be like, nah, no, but now I'm like, it's okay. Sometimes I just got to be quiet, be calm, and just accept it. Accept the moments, because people are giving you your flowers while you're still here.
And that's a big thing. I mean, learning to accept compliments, learning to accept those things. It's always tough. Look, I mean, we are a risk critic a lot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
me hitting the gym, running, whatever. I'm always getting, oh man, hey, it's great, that's powerful, man, good job. I'm like, I can hit better, I can do better. So it's one of those things where it's like, I know where I am, right? I know where I am when it comes to, let's use the gym, for example. Like, I know where I am physically and I know where I want to be. So sometimes in my mind, like my subconscious is like, yeah, Jamal, you're strong. You're strong as hell, man. You're pushing it. You're hitting it. You're crushing these goals. You're doing whatever you need to do. But then outwardly, I'm telling them, or I'm reminding myself that there's still growth left. I know where I could be. I know where I'm going. I know where I need to be. But what I needed to start doing is practicing that gratitude in a moment, right? Because there was a time where I wasn't able to lift that. There was a time where I wasn't able to run that mile. There was a time where I couldn't walk at all because of the injury last year. Now I'm back on the football field. So it's like all those things that have happened, it really does shape your self-esteem. It shapes who you are, because you have to already know who you are before you get to those, before you get that outside, whether it's compliments or negative talk, whatever it is. You have to be true to yourself. You have to know exactly who you are so that you could control it, whether it's a good or bad.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Yeah, very true. I mean, that's like with me, like I said, even with the compliments or like, it's funny to say this, but like compliments about like being an attractive person, right? That was a huge thing for me, for my self-esteem, because I didn't feel like that,
Interesting. So even when people were saying it, you're like, you're just being nice. You're just trying. Okay. Interesting.
That was deep rooted as a kid. That was deep rooted for different reasons. Where I didn't feel like it, because I was like, well, if I am a certain kind of way, well, why are certain things happening? Where it's like, if you're such a good person, you look such a certain kind of way, like, it was like, well, I don't really feel appreciated as a person. So it was like, it got to a point, honestly, Jay, for me, even to this day, I still work on that part where it's like, for people to just personally, for me, see me outside of what you perceive me to be, and just my heart, and like get to know what's in there, because that's more important to me than anything, because we are going to age, and looks or whatever that's going to be that draw the initial attraction is not going to always be there.
Facts.
And for me, that would eat on me a lot, because it would make me feel like, oh, okay, well, I guess people don't recognize, my personality, maybe the goofy side of me, or, this, my intellect, people don't appreciate those things. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm just grouped in this bracket of a certain kind of guy. And I'm like, nah, that's not me. And then when you have these encounters, I'll be in a relationship or whatnot, and then it's the same result in some ways, where it was just like, oh, you're looking for a certain kind of thing that's toxic, and I'm not trying to be like that. So it's like, that was a hard part of processing, to get rid of like the negative conversations I'd have with myself, where it's like, I almost expect the worst, and then because I haven't gotten good in that part of my life for me, so self-esteem takes a hit, where you feel okay, people say it, but if you don't feel it in yourself, then you're only going to lower your expectations, and what's going to happen is like, those bad things will happen.
That universe, man, it's the universe is so crazy. You're absolutely right. Especially if you start out having a bad day and that negative self-talk is there, and you're constantly putting yourself down. You're like, I can't get any worse. This traffic, this, all that. It ends up playing out. It ends up playing out exactly how you're calling it. So that bad day then gets worse. It gets worse. It gets worse from there. And then all of a sudden you're just drowning in all of this stress. You're drowning in all of this negative self-talk, and then what comes from that is it manifests itself. It brings itself in front of you, and it's it happens to the best of us. It happens to us all the time. I mean, there are times when I'm like, oh man, geez, there's nothing in my account. Oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna pay for this. How am I gonna pay for this car? I mean, you know the issues I'm having my vehicle now, so it's like all those things end up coming up. But the one thing I've learned about the universe, or God, whatever you believe in, the one thing I have seen is that it always gets hard. It always gets difficult, but it never gets impossible. It never gets impossible. there's always something that happens, right?
Yeah.
When you least expect it, and you're like, wow, I'm good again. Until the next time that you go and do it, you go ahead and do some negative self-talk. But it's crazy how that literally happens, whether it's, oh man, I got a flat tire. Oh man, how am I going to afford this? The insurance company is going to pull through and help you. Oh man, it's raining outside. I don't have an umbrella. Oh, your friend is right outside the car. He has an umbrella. Go walk with him. There's something that always happens. It always gets very difficult in life, but it never gets impossible.
You know, that is a really wonderful way of how you put that. Huge gym, guys. I hope you take notes to what Jay just said. I'm gonna go back and listen to this one. That was huge, but it does. He's right. It never becomes impossible. It only becomes in restriction to you based on your state of mind. And you know, it becomes impossible if you believe it to be impossible in any way, shape, or form. And no one's talking about something that's unrealistic, like you're not like to try to fly.
Right. Obviously,
you know what I'm saying?
You'll fly for a little bit, and then that'll be
the loss of gravity will hit you hard and fast, quite literally. So it's just the thought process of the state of mind and state of being. And, you know, hearing you say that, it became, you know, habitual for me to practice my affirmations and start creating it so that I teach myself how to show gratitude and love to me. And that is what I've done, what you do, what we know a lot of you out there are doing. And to those of you who are new, you'll learn, if you haven't heard about it before, how to create affirmations. You know, set a mantra for yourself so that you learn the tools to grow. Because what I've done, I had to get up, face myself literally in the mirror every day, and to let myself know my worth. It's okay to let yourself know and talk to yourself in that regard, to build those confidence and to show appreciation, because you got the opportunity to wake up to see another day. You got another chance to get at life in a way that's beneficial for you, however that looks. See, the thing is, the beauty of choice is what we have here. And we underestimate the power that represents in our life, because we choose to do whatever we do, whatever the outcome to be, inevitable in different ways or not, but we choose it. If you get up today and say you don't want to go to work, guess what? You don't have to. If you get up today and you say, I'm going to earn me $1, there's always a way to do it. So it becomes a state of mind. So it's mind over impossibility, right? So you do the work that's required for you to be your best self, which is why we are having these conversations about how to enhance yourself, because it really is a state of mind, state of being. It's part of my affirmation, you know, where I say my affirmations all the time, you know. So I think it's based on what you need, what you want, learning how to appreciate yourself, learning how to not hold yourself back and with like a you know, chain on your ankle for your history, because that's what it was. It's your past. It's not your now. So all you really do have is your now to keep pushing you forward. So if you get up, like I try to think of now, when I get up in the morning, that's a whole new day. If I'm having a crappy day for whatever the reason is, at any point in time, I could try my best to hit the restart button on my state of mind, my state of being, and readapt whatever's going on that's affecting it, you know, adjust that part of me so that I continue to move forward and evolve. Because I got to grow. I got to grow, because everything around me in my universe is watching. My kids, you know, my closest confidants in my life.
Absolutely.
And more importantly, I'm watching the film play out through my eyes. So why not apply myself as best I can?
Absolutely.
Why not try? The only thing you preventing you from an action or something moving forward is the prevention of you taking the step. Because if you never take the step, where are you going to go?
Absolutely. I mean, look, the one step that you got to take, that first step is always hardest. But there is this program, this package that's coming out January 1st, 2022. And I got to say, man, it's been a joy not only being able to write this package based on what you've gone through, but to literally see it working. I think that is what brings us the most joy. The 21-3 method, literally all of this is wrapped up into that. Knowing who you are, understanding what your self-image is, knowing how to enhance your self-esteem, knowing about affirmations, knowing that you're so damn worth it, knowing where you're going. This package literally has all of that. And it's again, look, we're in September now. January, you need to prepare yourself. You need to understand that going forward from that point, once you open this program, once you start working into this program, your life is going to change if you choose it to. Every single thing that is written in there is not fluff. It's not made up. It's not something we put together to be some motivational BS that you find on an encounter. No offense to any of them, but this is real.
Yeah.
Everything in there is real. It's authentic. It's true. It's very, very difficult. But once you choose to make that decision to make sure that you are going to be somebody who is 100% different than who you used to be, but also 100% yourself, you will be able to unlock something that you've never seen before within yourself. And that's absolute facts.
Very true. Very true. And in that process, you will definitely establish your identity. And the world will know who you are without you even having to say it.
Right there. Right there.
Without even having to say it, to the point that I can't tell you how often, like, and I'm sure you've been greeted that way, but people greet me as we'll see.
Yep.
That's really how I'm greeted now, because it's who I am to my core. It's that inner truth of me and what that represents to the world.
Yep.
You know?
I mean, being able to literally affirm your true identity. I think that right there it's number one, it's beautiful, because once you're able to be so comfortable with yourself that nothing else matters in terms of whatever, whether it's negative talk, whether it's issues that you're having throughout the day, whatever it is, nothing is big enough that you can't conquer, because you know exactly where you're going, you know exactly who you are, and nothing can literally stand in your way. You literally know that you matter without just saying it, without it just being words in the mirror. You know it for a fact. So there's nothing in your way that can stop you anymore, because you are a level above where you used to be. And it's just beautiful to see.
It's the best feeling. It's the best feeling.
It's free. It's absolutely free.
It is. So it's like, what's to stop you?
Man, I can't think of anything.
The only thing that can stop you is you.
That's it. That's literally it.
That's it.
You are standing in your way right now. Right now, if you're watching this, you are the only person that stands in your way. It's not your parents. It's not your husband, your wife, your family member, strangers on the internet. It's none of that. It's you. You are the only person that is standing in your way. When are you going to move aside? When are you going to make that decision to say, no more? This is it. It ends here. I'm living who I am today for the rest of my life, because nobody knows when that life is going to end. Nobody knows when their last day is. The fact that you're still here means that there's a destiny that you still have to fulfill, and you owe it to yourself. You owe it to your family. You owe it to everyone else around you who loves you to live that out, to live that destiny, to get to where you need to be, to live a fulfilling life for those you love. Why stop yourself? Why continue to stand in your way? There is no good reason. Go out there, live your life for you.
Well said, Jay. I mean, I think at this point, I think we've touched on a great amount of topics related to this one, and different methods in our experience of our self-esteem, and how we are confident in who we are, and I mean, we're becoming. So, we challenge you. You let us know, give us a time of what you felt to where you were to get you to where you are today. Take a look in the mirror, reevaluate where you are, your self-image, and what that means to you. And then if you can, describe that. Let us know. Share that in the comments below. If you're on YouTube, if you're on IG, DM us, and we'll be sure to feature that on an upcoming episode of your story about you with the world, so that they recognize what that looks like. As we've learned in the learning.
Look, I love this community. I honestly do, because that's why we're building this community. It's to share. It's to grow. It's for all of us to grow, not just us, not just you, all of us growing together as a unit, because that's how we grow strength. That's how we get bigger. That's how we get better, is by growing together, by understanding what that self-image is, understanding who we really are, and how it could help us enhance the self-esteem, enhance the way we feel about ourselves, regardless of what anybody else out there feels about you. What do you feel about you? How do you feel? That's the most important. Forget the comments, forget you not getting likes, forget you not getting shares, forget you not getting retweets, whatever measurement on this social media pseudo world that you want to be on. Forget that. Yeah. How do you feel about you? That's what's most important. Never forget that.
Yeah, that's what we want to know.
Absolutely.
Genuinely want to know.
Yes. And we will get to share it with the community. You'll be able to see it more than one time. You'll be featured at the beginning of the next Acromas podcast episode, as well as on your Acromas podcast page, because we are a community, because we share in all this. We all want to grow, and we all want to be able to enhance our self-esteem. That's just what we do. Man, this has been a great episode, man. It's been emotional. It's been motivational. It's been inspirational. It's all about enhancing that self-esteem and being able to be better than you were the day before. And look, next week, this is going to be a really fun conversation. I gotta say.
Oh yeah,
because this person has a healthy self-image. He is constantly enhancing his self-esteem to the point where he's comfortable being on camera in front of hundreds of thousands, even millions of different people.
Yes.
He's comfortable being on stage with the lights on him, the camera on him, being exactly who he is in that character. Next week, it'll be an absolute honor and a privilege to have one of our mutual friends on, Mr. Kevin Saunders. Kay, if you're listening, we can't wait to have you on next week. We're going to talk about how determination and habitual behavior have brought him success in the filming world.
Oh, Kevo, it's going to be a good one, brother.
Yes. Yes.
We can't wait for you to showcase to the world your greatness.
Buddy. It's look, acting, seeing what he's able to do.
Yes.
That's amazing. Because we know who he is, right?
We know him.
We know he is out of character. So seeing him in character, you're like, man, that's a whole different person. I don't know. He is. So look, it is going to be a great episode next Sunday. We want you guys to definitely tune in, especially with this episode here with episode 34. Episode 35 is also going to be full of gems. It's going to be full of funny moments. It's going to be full of inspirational moments, motivational moments, and moments that you can take when you're literally listening to it and put it in your life. That's the beauty of all this. It's the beauty of this community. That's the beauty of the Acromas podcast. If you are new here,
how can they find us, Jay?
ACHROMOUS. You spell all this out on YouTube, you will find us because we are the only ones like that. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, and even TikTok. If this is your first time here, you hit that subscribe button, you hit that like button, and you hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss this episode or any other episode to come. Ladies and gentlemen, we want you to have a blessed Sunday. We thank you for taking the time out today to join us on the Acromas podcast. And until next Sunday, it is your boy, J.H. Gibbons.
And I will see.
Peace.